What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Wave podcast here at the Culture Wave Media Network, and we are back to discuss another film that is not wide release for everybody yet, but we're very excited to be discussing it. It is No Other Choice. It is the latest film from Chan Wook. I'm going to be one of your hosts. My name is Darian Scalamoni. I am joined this time by Vinny Albano.
Hello, hello.
One of the biggest fans of South Korean cinema that I am aware of.
Yes.
And you saw this movie at Montclair Film Festival. You had a chance to see it. I missed the screening at Montclair. You had a very interesting viewing experience from the aisles, but you still got a chance to see this movie.
Yes.
I was lucky enough to get a screener from Neon because this movie is not hitting theaters worldwide, I don't believe, until January. So we will do our best to avoid a lot of spoilers, but we're going to have to talk some spoilers in this review. And this film did hit also at TIFF, which I didn't have a chance to see it at TIFF, but very happy to have seen it recently. You hyped the shit out of this movie to me. And this is one of those, interestingly enough, Vinny, you are the type of person that when we talk about movies, you usually say, I don't know if my number's going to change on this. I don't know if my review's going to change. But since you've seen this at Montclair, the last time we spoke before I had a chance to see it, you said, this movie sat with me a lot, and I think my score might go up. So
yeah.
I want to get your kind of broad thoughts on it, non-spoiler, on what you thought of No Other Choice coming out of it and where you're at now with it.
Yeah, I love this movie. I come maybe a little biased because I'm a huge Chan Wook fan. And he has his meticulous flair to this film. The way he structures his films, the way he directs them, they're so meticulous. It's like playing a game with the audience. In a way, he reminds me a lot of Fincher in his way of structuring a story and the way he directs actors within that story, which might be like a bit of a weird comparison, maybe inaccurate, but that's the vibe I get. I love his meticulous flair here. I love how funny this film is, because the movie, and why I love films like this, is it is a absurd concept, and from the absurdity there's so much humor that comes from it, and yet they manage to still keep a consistently dark tone.
Yes,
because of how fucked up and how absurd the concept is, which is what I love. And I think that Park Chan-wook does a great job keeping that. Although I will say, compared to his other films in his filmography, I'm not as connected to this as his other films, just because I don't think it hits the epically highs that his other films have in sense of drama and dread and epicness. But as what No Other Choice is, it does a great job at what it is.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so this is, some people, if you're a cinephile watching this, you might be gasping, and hopefully Vinny doesn't do a spit take as I say this. This is my first Park Chan-wook I've ever seen, so this is something where I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. I've heard tons of amazing things about a lot of his work. Previously directed The Handmaiden. He's done, obviously, Old Boy, which is a favorite of yours and a favorite of other people on the channel. Joint Security Area, I've heard great things about. He's also made some American movies. He made Stoker. He made some American series, The Little Drummer Girl for AMC, and he did The Sympathizer for HBO. But this is the first thing I've ever consumed of his, and what a ride, man. Like, this movie is, I knew it from watching the trailer with the concept that it would be something that would be in the vein of something I like, because I really like dark comedies as well.
Yeah.
I do agree in terms of his directorial style that it is Fincher-esque, but for me, his writing, because I believe he wrote this as well, correct?
Yeah, he usually co-writes with
which he
a
did,
partner.
Lee Kyung-mi is who he co-writes this with, and this is an adaptation of a book called The Axe, but this movie, in terms of the tone and the way it's written, reminds me of, have you ever seen any films from Martin McDonagh?
I don't believe
he did
so.
3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Oh,
He's
yes,
done
yes.
In Bruges.
Yes,
it's
I've seen
very
both those
similar to that to me. And In Bruges is one of my favorite movies ever made. So jumping into this, I was really excited as we kind of went along. And just to give people an insight, if you have no idea what this movie is about, just giving the log line on IMDb, it's about a gentleman by the name of Man-soo. He's played by Lee Byung-hun, one of the most iconic Korean actors. He's in Squid Game, and he's been in a number of other big Korean films. he works at a paper company and he becomes unemployed for several years, and he's not getting any other opportunities, so he devises a very unique plan to secure a new job, which is to eliminate the competition. And what I love about this film is that it encompasses so many different genres within it, because we've already talked about that it's a dark comedy, but it is a crime movie. There are some thriller elements to it. There are some really great dramatic moments also that you have to balance within the tone of this. And it was just such a great ride to go on. Like this is a movie that it takes you in a lot of different directions. There's a lot of things that you're not expecting that kind of come out of it, which like a lot of people would compare it to Parasite. I don't think it's the same kind of thing, but it deals with a lot of similar issues in terms of the capitalistic society and dealing with the importance of work culture in Korean culture. And so I just was so happy that, to me, this is some of the strongest writing that I've seen this year. And I think Korean films, from the few that I've seen, all happen to have these larger ideas, and they're able to simplify them by putting us in the context of everyday humanality that we deal with.
Yeah.
And being able to blend that with humor is what I think Park Chan-wook did really well with this movie.
I agree. I rave not only Park Chan-wook but Bong Joon-ho as the pinnacle of modern South Korean cinema. It's so in tune with the world, but the country and the culture. And we, like you mentioned, we can't talk about this film without talking about South Korea as a capitalist country, one of the most prominent and most aggressively capitalist countries in the world, because the film has so much to say about that and how toxic it makes the work culture. And we see that people like Monsoon will go to great lengths and break and become evil just to secure a place within the system. That's what I love. This film is more than just comedy. But comedy is great, but it has that deeper narrative, thematic element that just ties the narrative together.
Yeah, you're seeing the reinvention of his character over the runtime. Like it starts with this kind of very sinister idea to kind of find a new way for him to kind of get the leg up on other candidates for these jobs, and it becomes this spiral where eventually the whole family kind of conforms to what is happening in some way, shape, or form, whether it's lending a blind eye or, for some members of the family, a real understanding. And I do want to talk about that with you, because that is the one thing that I do feel is very heavily related to Parasite, because in Parasite you're kind of seeing the family all kind of fall in line with the plan. I feel similarly, not directly, but with the family dynamic in this movie is probably my favorite part of the movie, because it is the backdrop of all that kind of comes with this film, but it's so important. And his relationship, I thought that the work that was done from the woman that plays his wife, Miri, Son Ye-jin, she is great in this movie. She has a lot of really great moments where she's balancing emotion, and she's balancing drama, she's balancing being a mother, she's balancing not trying to, like, still loving her husband, even though he's in a dire strait of, like, and the opening of the movie does a great job of setting the stage for that. You know what I mean? Like when we're getting kind of these high points of what this family has endured, and having a pig roast, and being able to get his wife new shoes, and the cello lessons that his daughter's able to have. So going from that to the dire circumstances of, like, we have to take everything away and everyone needs to be aware of what your father's circumstances are, is such an interesting balancing act. So for you, talk to me about that family dynamic that kind of unfolds and kind of brings us to the inflection point that we have with Mansu's character.
Yeah, I love it. I think, again, it adds a level of drama that feels so much more intimate than the regular job hunt drama that's on the surface, correct? So what I love, though, is, as you compared to Parasite, but here it's an internal conflict, right? In Parasite, for most of the film, the family is on the same team, and here there's a lot of, she feels very disgusted by his actions once finding out. And the son is not, he's getting involved in some bad things. He's stealing iPhones. So that's what I love, is the conflict that all of these characters have. They feel like characters. They feel like real people. Or that's what I was supposed to say. They feel like real people. Rather than just like here's a family that he has. No, like the son is very unique, and the son has his own thing going, and that causes conflict here. And the mother also, same thing. The daughter, same thing. They all have their own things going. They're all their own cogs within the family. But one cog stops turning, which then makes the other cog stop turning. That's what I think is just so well written about the family dynamic.
Yeah, and with his character in particular, I love how he's able to explore this moment of, it's like Mansu can do a lot of different things to try to help his situation, right? Like he could work on his resume, he can get other odd jobs, he can do things that the unfortunate reality across all cultures is when people are getting laid off left and right now. Like obviously that's a terrible thing to deal with, but everybody's kind of in the same boat. You're trying to do whatever you can to kind of put food on the table for yourself and for your family. But he goes to literally like it's almost like Looney Tune levels.
Yeah.
Like it's like getting to this point of like, all right, like let's take my grandfather's war weapon and let me 3D print a fake gun to put in the case so my family doesn't realize that it's gone. And I'll use this when I have to use it. And there's hilarity that kind of comes with that in and of itself. Like the first death scene we get of another candidate is one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie, where we have sort of this also interesting love triangle lumped with it.
Yes.
Yeom Hyai Ran plays Ara, and Lee Sung Min plays Bummo. And it sets the stage for what you're kind of about to embark on, right? Like it is so insane how amidst this sort of like this murderous rampage or this thriller aspect that they're trying that Park Chan Wook is going for, you have this hilarious moment of this woman who is in this incredibly sincere relationship and she's trying to help anything she can for her husband to just like do something different, and he even offers like, my father will give you a cafe to run, like you'll be able to have a different job, and he's like, I'm a paper man. And that on the backdrop against all of it is so darkly and deeply funny that you can't help but laugh, even though it's the most dire of circumstances. You feel similar, correct?
Yeah. This is the one with the wife who's cheating, correct?
Yes.
So it's so, I mean, every scene, again, I just love the way he directs these actors, the way he blocks these scenes, the way things just happen, the gun falling and all of that. And again, not even, I talked about how each character in the family feels like a very individuals. They don't feel like they feel real. Even these little characters who end up dying, or they're more side characters, they feel very real. They all have their own thing going on. The wife has this affair going on, and they all have their own feelings towards this, and it all works together so well. I thought that entire sequence was so funny, and I agree with you, like how it sets the stage for such an absurd but deeply, darkly bleak reality that we live in currently, with how you mentioned he takes so much pride within being a paperman that he doesn't want to, and that's a sense of privilege, and again, not to become like too like socio-political or economically political right now, but the film is, again, like has a lot of anti-capitalist narrative, and I think that's a direct talking point of how capitalism defines you by your job, your occupation. You are what the first thing you ask someone in America or a country like Japan or South Korea, who are also very capitalist, what's the first thing you ask? What do you do for a living? That's the first question you ask someone. It's like that's their identity, and he has so much pride and toxic privilege that comes with his occupation. And I think it just, again, adds another level of drama and thematic narrative that is to die for.
Yeah, 100%. It's such an emotional reaction in a multitude of different ways. And
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about this is a review of the film from Script Mag. It's from a writer named Rahul Menon, and he says that Park Chan Wook is able to take the least cinematic thing in unemployment and make it cinematic.
Yeah.
And I think that is the beauty of what Park Chan Wook is able to do with this movie, is that it takes something that it's a sad reality for a lot of people, but like, yeah, how do you make that cinematic? It's like you take something that is so mundane and you flip it and make it into like a crime caper that still has all these deep, like you said, these deep emotional moments in it. And we talked a little bit about the first one that happens. The second character that he has to have this terrible thing happen within one scene. You only see this character for one scene as a shoe salesman.
Oh, yeah.
And you feel the severity of what's about to happen just by what Park Chan Wook is able to do with the device of his daughter. And that was a scene where I literally said, as I'm watching the film, I'm like, oh no, man. Like what, like why are they going to, this dude is such a nice guy.
Yeah.
Like he's a nice guy who's just there to make money for his family. And he cares about his daughter and he's just doing his best. And it made me like deeply sad for a few minutes because I'm like, this guy and the character Mansu, he has that moment where he's like, I can't do this. Like there's no way I'm going to be able to do this. And I love the repeating of no other choice, the title of the movie, to realize that he's like, I'm doing this for my family. But the reality is that blood sport that he's kind of putting himself through, going back to what I said before, it's like, there are so many other options, dude. Like there are so many other ways you can handle this and you don't have to just be a paper man. You can get another job. You can figure out something else, to then getting to that point. And then that even leads to hilarity because of the way that he wraps up the body like a turkey. It's like insane when you're seeing the aftermath of this character being dead. So you see the levels of emotion. And that's what I want to talk to you about, as someone who's kind of, you've taken in all of his work, or majority of his work. Is that something that you feel is in all of his work, or do you feel like that gets kind of amped up in this movie with the crazy premise and things like that?
No, that's in all of his work, and I was gonna say, I love the oddities that Park Chan Wook and his co-writers work within his scripts. These super disturbing oddities that almost just feel like they just exist, and it almost feels like I feel that if it was written by someone else, they'd have a point where people would be like, point at the camera and be like, oh my god, that's so weird, what's going on, this is so crazy. But no, it just kind of exists there, and you see that within all the Vengeance films he did: Lady Vengeance, Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, and Old Boy, Handmaiden 2, where you have like these really shocking imagery and really disturbing oddities, but then it's just like part of the story. And I love that. I think that it's just a part of his taste, and it's a part of his vision that makes me, I can't describe it.
Yeah.
It's unique.
It's 100%
enjoyable.
You're balancing humor with the dark realities of what is.
Yeah.
And that's like, that's a very hard balancing act. Like not a lot of directors can do that in a way where it doesn't feel manipulative, where it doesn't feel like you're doing something for the sake of just to make the audience feel something. Like you said, it feels very lived in. It feels like these characters are real people. And I don't know, this was one of my biggest surprises of the year. But again, I think it's probably just because I haven't seen any of his other work, because I know obviously he's widely regarded as one of the greatest filmmakers of not only of his time, but of all time.
Yeah.
And this was a movie that I was so deeply affected by. And it was probably one of the funniest movies I've seen this year and in recent years. Like I don't remember a comedy that made me laugh this much. And again, it's not supposed to be taken as a straight comedy. And Lee Byung-hun does such an amazing job as the lead character. I hope he gets some consideration for Best Actor. I really hope this gets a screenplay nomination because I think it deserves it. And I'm not sure. So in terms of, because I don't want to give too much away for the movie because a lot of people will be able to see it in January, but is there anything else non-spoilery that you can give away that you really wanted to talk about when it comes to this movie?
Non-spoilery. I don't believe so. Yeah, because I want to talk about the ending specifically. And I want to talk about a metaphor that I still don't understand. But I want to see if you have an interpretation.
My take. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So but they're both going to be spoiler related probably, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because they both have to do with the ending.
Okay, cool. So at this point, we're going to just pause for a second just to say we're going to go into spoilers at this point. If you guys haven't had a chance to see it, you guys should definitely see it when it hits theaters wide release after Christmas in January. All I'll say, we won't give scores at this point, but Vinny and I both probably give this 2 big thumbs up to go see it in the theater. So you guys should check it out. But at this point, if you haven't had a chance to see the movie, please avoid this part because we're going to jump into spoilers. So you've been warned. Hit me with it. Give it to me.
Okay. So, well, first, this is kind of a two-parter.
Okay.
First, I love the ending. It's so bleak. And it's like weirdly bittersweet because he's so happy. Oh, he finally got his job. Everything is replaced by AI.
Yep.
And it's just like it's so just like, wow,
The
dude.
cherry on top.
Yeah, it's like, wow, dude, like that's what you fought for. And but it's so like bleak because that's what we're facing right now of like how many jobs are being replaced by AI.
Yeah.
And companies are merging, and it's usually tech companies, bigger tech companies that are buying all these other smaller companies out and merging them and causing the layoffs. So one, I love it. It's such a bold swing of an ending, but I love it. Before we move on to the second part, did you have?
I had like it is one of those moments where it's deeply satisfying for the lead character. It is incredibly bleak, but I'm pissing my pants laughing at it.
Yeah.
Because even the moments where he goes through the little you see it reflected earlier on in the film where he's going through his everyday routine of what he has to do in the paper mill or this paper warehouse that he's doing things. And you get that exact scene kind of mirrored at the end where he has a stick and they tell him in the interview, like, no sticks, no men with sticks anymore. You just need to be there to turn the lights on. We need somebody to hit go. And that's it. And he's like, and you sure you need somebody for that though, right? I know you don't need a lot of people. And you kind of have that whole sequence mirrored where he's doing it and he's like looking around and there's machines all over him and he's like kind of terrified. But at the same time, he's so deeply fulfilled with the fact that he's able to provide for his family again. And he... it's not about what he just did over the 2 hours and I guess like 10 minutes at that point.
Yeah.
But it's more about he was able to get to where he needed to get to by any means necessary and he had no other choice. And it's beautiful. It's like it's terrible, but it's so beautiful. And that's how I felt about it. I just thought it was I really thought it was one of the best movies I've seen this year. So I thought it was great.
Yeah.
The way that it ended.
And the big metaphor that I've been trying to dissect, and I've seen this when I saw this movie. It was a while ago now, so it's been a month or two since I saw this. But the cello scene at the end,
yes,
the daughter finally is able to play the cello,
in
the presence of the family, which they very explicitly say, like, oh, she's too scared, she's too shy to play the cello in front of us. What's your interpretation of that?
Dude, so I really had the simplest interpretation of it, which is probably the wrong interpretation. And it was just that she was so deeply upset by the fact that she could only connect to their dogs. That literally, as soon as the dogs are back, she's able to perform literally for the dogs.
Oh,
that's the only interpretation I had for it, because when they take away the dog, like we don't see in the beginning of the film when she's playing the cello on the roof and she comes down, she like really is only kind of talking to the dogs. She's only relating to the dogs. And as soon as the dogs are taken, we see this kind of emotional pivot point for her character. And when those animals are returned, it's able to give her the freedom to be artistic again and to feel not, I guess, trapped by maybe, again, like what the or the economic circumstances are. So it could be somewhat of a commentary of like art versus commerce, which I think is interesting too. But I saw it as a very literal, like she needed the dogs to be there for an audience, and that's what made her feel most comfortable. What about you? Did you have any interpretation of it?
Yeah, honestly, I'm not sure. I think you're right. Because it does put a nice finishing bow on her arc as a smaller character of the story. Yeah, I don't know. I completely went over my head actually about the dogs. I forgot about that. So
She didn't forget about it.
yeah.
She was happy to play for those dogs.
Yeah, I'm curious if there is like another take on it. Just because it felt so like, whoa. Like it felt like a big moment.
Yeah.
Um
It was for the family. I mean,
Yeah.
they kind of stop in their tracks. Like the brothers only like listen, like she's playing again.
yeah.
I think it's beautiful though. I think it's a darkly humorous movie, but it's dealing with real severe issues and there's a lot of murder. There's a lot of murder in this movie. So it's balancing that tone really well. But that's pretty much all I have. Do you have anything else you want to talk about with it?
Not particularly, just again, two things. Going back to like the disturbing oddities and shocking imagery of this in this story here. The kills are so creative.
Creative.
It's every movie that he does. It's always super creative, and there's always like these crazy things going on. The handmaiding specifically, there's like multiple moments of violence or shocking imagery that's like super creative.
Yeah.
But here, like burying the dude and having him like choke on his own vomit and then using that to like
set him up for it.
Yeah, it's so like that's crazy. Like
the crazy thing is he has an out.
Yeah.
With that scene. You know, like he literally could be in a situation where he could be working on a floor with that guy. But as he said, no other choice. It had to be him over everybody else.
Yeah. And I think my other last 2 points that I wanted to make were, one, speaking of that, his character and how taking an ordinary person and just watching them unfold into evil, right? That you mentioned how you take the most uncinematic thing of unemployment and make it cinematic. And I think it's so well done within Mansu's character of just that, right? Because you're watching a man become bad.
Yeah.
And I miss that. Like, Scorsese does that in, like, so many of his films.
Yeah.
Like, we were watching all his main characters, not all, but most of his main characters in Scorsese's films are bad people. Watching them just unfold into terrible things. And we're watching bad things happen. I miss that in modern filmmaking. I feel like we haven't got that in a minute, where I'm just watching like someone just become like a monster in a sense, right?
Yeah.
I miss that. I think I don't know if you had anything to add to that.
No, I just agree. I agree with you. I don't think that it's also, like I said, I think it's hard to balance that.
Yeah.
It's hard to balance that without it feeling manipulative or without it feeling like what we see on Netflix every year with Monster.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's something where it's like, that's not the right way to handle those kinds of stories.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. And then the last thing I'm going to say is actually a negative.
Okay.
The one negative I have for this film is, well, I guess two negatives. I said one before of how this film, as much as I loved it, it didn't like hit to like the most transformative scale that his other films have done. Like The Handmaiden for me is like a transformative film. Like that changed. I like was blown away, like emotionally and artistically from that film. Same with Old Boy. But the big negative, I don't know if you felt pacing wise. I felt it took a little bit. And this might be
it's a little long.
It took a little bit to get going.
Yes.
You know. But once it gets going though, it's great.
Yeah, because what part of it is also the hesitation of what he's about to embark on, and like the snake biting scene, which is still funny, but it's like something that doesn't need to necessarily be there. But I guess it introduces you to some characters. But I agree. I would actually I'd probably say my two negatives are probably the same as yours. I would say runtime is a little long. Not overly long, but it's a little long. I think they can cut some things out of it. And it's a really, really great movie, but it's not transformative in the way that there are some other films that I've seen this year that have really spoken to me in a different way. And other films in the past, like Parasite, just to keep it on brand a little bit. Like Parasite is a movie that, to me, is one of the greatest movies ever made, and it affects me deeply the way that I've watched it so many times, and I still have that same emotional, visceral reaction to it. This one doesn't get me to that exact same point that Bong Joon-ho was able to get me with Parasite. So I agree. But so at this point, it's time for scores.
All right.
Vinny, you want to go first? You hit me with it.
I'm giving this a solid 8.5.
Okay.
8.5.
So I'm a little bit higher than you. I'm giving it a 9. I'm going to give it a 9. So I think, again, it's a really, really great movie. If it's not in my top 10 for the year, it's at the very it's approaching the top 10. It's right there. It's right on the cusp. I got to finish my list and see a couple more things before I put it there. But this movie really shocked me with how much I loved it. And this is one that I'll return to because it is so funny. Like there are so many hilarious moments that I'll definitely enjoy returning back to it. But if you guys had a chance to see it, bless you, Vinny.
Thank you.
If anybody had a chance to see this movie already, no other choice at any of the festivals or anything, we'd love to have a conversation with you guys in the comments. Let us know what you guys think about it. If you guys stuck around for this long and you haven't had a chance to see the movie yet, thank you for tuning in. And are you guys excited to see it? Give us the comments and we'll have a conversation with you guys there. You can give this video a like if you guys can. Subscribe to us here at the Culture Rave Media Network. We have tons of other reviews up on the channel, whether it's film or television. We're currently covering Pluribus and Stranger Things at the end of the year, and we're going to have our end of year lists upcoming to wrap up 2025. Thank you guys for everyone who's been tuning in for the year. If you guys have already, and you guys can follow us on social media. If you guys don't, all that stuff is in the YouTube description and it's down below. So just signing off, I'm Darian Scalamoni.
And I'm Vinny Albano.
And we'll see you guys next time.
This is The Culture.